And we welcome you into episode number 4 of the best podcast available. Nathan said it. 4 is the number. We haven't been canceled yet. They've asked us to keep coming back. We haven't annoyed anybody. It's Gibbs. It's Gribbs. It's Nathan Zegura. It's Nick Shook. And it's time for Mock Draft 1.0 based on the results of the 2019 NFL Combine. 1 week out from NFL free agency. All 4 of us have put together our own mocks up to through pick number 17. We'll have a little conversation. We'll have a little debate. And we'll come up with our overall consensus mock draft 1.0 that will debut on clevelandbrowns.com and, of course, the best podcast available where you get your podcasts. Guys, before we get into that, if I could, one quick thought from each of you on the 2019 Combine, other than the food being outstanding, as it always is, and Zegura overindulging in tacos. Gribble.
My first thought is that I have no clearer idea on who the Browns are going to take than I did going into the Combine, which I think is different than this time last year. I think we got a better sense of the direction of the quarterback derby that the Browns were having at this time last year, but that's a good thing. I think the Browns have a lot of areas that they can fill with the best player available. I get the sense that after re-signing Greg Robinson, I've strayed away from that possibility being an offensive tackle, but there's 3 big spots on the all 3 phases you can get better on the defense side of the ball, and there's going to be plenty of options at number 17.
Zegura.
Well, first of all, I didn't overindulge in tacos. I more than carried my weight. Number 2, it's great to be back on BPA. It's my second appearance. What an honor to be on 2 of the first 4 episodes. Number 3, for the Combine, it's just a totally different experience walking around as a member of the Cleveland Browns organization this year than it was last year or really any other year.
Any of the times we've been there?
Right. You got some looks of admiration from people. They're excited to talk about the Browns, and we don't even have to talk about quarterback at all. And I thought that was very refreshing, and it's fun to do this and go through it and really say, all right, we kind of think we know what positions the Browns are going to be targeting, but to say realistically who's going to be there and what they're going to do, impossible. That's fun. It's different when you have control over the draft completely and have the first pick 2 years in a row.
Yeah, you kind of stole my point a little bit. That's what I was going to go with. But
sorry.
Which is, no, it's all fine. You went first.
Not a scripted show.
It's all
it is
you know?
unscripted.
Yeah.
That's right.
But no, it was interesting, I think, for Saturday to become our Friday of the last few years. So definitely, checking out the defensive linemen and talking to all these different guys and figuring out, where this might shake out, which it's just so deep there that I don't know. I just don't know where we're going to go at this point at number 17. But, yeah, it was weird to not be in the group on Friday, standing in front of Kyler Murray's podium, for example, and not having to battle or elbow or nudge people to try and get in there and ask a question or two or worry about all the hype.
Absolutely.
It was nice. It was nice to have a Saturday where you got up and you just went and covered defensive linemen for the day. I can think of worse ways to spend a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, they're not as glamorous, but,
Trust me. It worked out just fine.
Can you also think of better ways to spend a weekend?
I love the Combine.
I do, too. The Combine's great.
Shook and I, we had a good
One of the
time.
great events.
Yeah.
You guys missed out on a quality
yeah,
Friday night.
we had a good time.
That's all.
I had a nice drive home.
3 days
Yeah.
is enough for me.
Yeah. It's
3
like
days.
Vegas,
Yeah.
the Combine.
Yeah, need the 4th. All right, so let's get into it. Our mock draft 1.0. So all 4 of us have put together our mock drafts, picks number 1 through 17, all the way up to the Browns pick. You may not make trades unless a trade has formally been announced, and we go through and we'll go through which pick, what our picks are, and then we'll come up with a consensus pick for the clevelandbrowns.com mock draft 1.0 officially. Let's kick things off with pick number 1, the Arizona Cardinals. On the clock, and right off the bat, we are divided. Gribble and Nick Shook with Nick Bosa, staying that way. Zegura and Gibbs going with the Kyler Murray train that has run off the rails. I don't know if he's 5'10", if he's 5'8". We don't know what he is these days. I don't know if he's had good interviews or bad, but it looks like the rumors are he could easily go pick number 1. But Gribbs and Shook, not buying it, Gribbs.
I'm not buying it just yet because I just can't wrap my head around the Cardinals actually doing this. And I just think their whole 2019 hasn't made a lot of sense to me, starting with the head coaching hire and going with these.
So why should it now?
These 3 big signings they've already made on players that were too old and slow and got cut by other teams. I guess it makes sense, but they traded multiple assets to get Josh Rosen, surrounded him with nothing last year. He was bad because they didn't have much around him. So and now we're hearing there's not much trade value on him either. So they can't even really trade him and get much for him. Anyways, it just seems too logical, and I feel it seems too easy that there's so much smoke out there that he's going to go number one. There's a lot of time for that to kind of be reversed. I'm of the opinion, which would be smarter, that Arizona's putting out these vibes that they would take him number one to try to drive up a potential trade to get them out of number one.
If you really were going to trade him, then what would it matter that you talked him up? Do you know what I mean? Like,
if you're trying to trade the number one pick.
Right, but wouldn't you say, hey, we're not taking the quarterback, so it's over? Why does that enhance the value of the number one pick that they say that they want to take Kyler Murray?
Because
if you really were going to take him, there's nothing somebody could offer you to not take a guy that you think as a quarterback is worth taking one overall.
Agreed, but I'm thinking they're trying to entice a team that thinks, we can maybe get him, because it's the top 5 teams. None of them perceivably need quarterbacks. Try to convince a team the only way you're guaranteed of getting this guy is going up to number one.
Maybe. I think they're taking him. There was too much talk at the Combine from people that I've talked to and who have said that it's done. Like it's a done deal. And the one thing that seems so interesting about Arizona was when Keim went up there and said, yeah, Rosen's our quarterback for now. Keim picked him. That was Keim and his staff. It's not like Steve Wilkes was going in there and picking him, which says to me that when they brought in Kingsbury, they said, here are the keys to the castle. You're actually running the show, and there's a new pecking order. And Keim is under Kingsbury, and Kingsbury wants Kyler Murray, and that's what it's going to be.
So yeah,
it's crazy.
Keim hasn't. It's not like he just got there though. Like it's not. He's been there long enough.
He's lucky to still be there.
That's true. He's been there long enough to maybe avoid something like this. I mean, yeah, they had a bad year in Steve Wilkes' first and only year, but I don't know if that validates or kind of I guess unseating Steve Keim to give the keys to Cliff Kingsbury, who's never coached in the NFL at all. I mean. Yeah,
had
did he
quite
have
the college resume, by the way.
Yeah, did he have an explosive offense in college? Yeah. Did he also get fired from his alma mater? Yeah. Did he have an offensive coordinator job at USC for a month before he decided to hop to the NFL? Yeah. I just think if they're going to make all these decisions that make you scratch your head and think, well, what? If Steve Keim still has any type of power in making such a pick, I don't think he's going to make that pick. And you go back to the Rosen point where he wasn't surrounded by anybody really. They had a terrible offensive line. That guy got the stuffing beat out of him as a rookie.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's fair to pull the plug on this guy who you moved up to get last year.
So you said a couple of things. Number one, fair. It wasn't fair what they did to Steve Wilkes either. I don't think anything, the perception, this isn't even about Rosen, I don't think. I think we're trying to apply rational thought to what clearly would be an irrational outcome if they pick Kyler Murray. Right? That's on some level, that's an irrational to go 2 years in a row, top 10 picks, one that you traded up for, and now you're number one overall. Take a quarterback back-to-back and move one at a depressed value because let's say maybe they get a third for him. That's what the rumors are right now. And typically, whatever the rumored price tag is, it ends up being less in reality. It doesn't make any sense. It's not sane. That's why taking Nick Bosa makes tons of sense and seems rational. Right. It just seems that they are sprinting down a path of irrationality, just like I would say hiring Kingsbury would seem a little bit on its face irrational.
If they draft him, they got to fix that offensive line because he played behind a great offensive line at Oklahoma.
College.
And there's one play that sticks out with me with Kyler Murray. It was against Alabama where he's like trying to move out and maybe go run down the field, and an Alabama player just like drags him to the ground so easily. And they just wonder if he's exposed, if he played behind that Josh Rosen offensive line last year, that's his only season in the NFL.
Yeah. So he can run.
I mean,
right?
that's tough. I mean, they got to fix the offensive line.
Just when I say this, and I don't know if you feel the same way, I'm not saying that I think Kyler Murray should be the number one pick. I'm not saying I don't even care about Kyler Murray, to be honest. We have Baker Mayfield. That's all I care about. But this is what I think is going to happen, and I will agree with you that if it does happen, I find it to be crazy.
So we should go Nick Bosa then. Are we all saying that we should just go Nick Bosa?
He's the best player in the draft.
Logically, yes.
We should think logically today?
Yes.
All right, I'm into that.
And the fact that we switch is going to change everything because Nick Bosa, for Gibbs and I, automatically becomes number two, but you guys have had him, guys, and that changes everything in this top portion of the draft.
See, I think we should go consensus with Murray here. Because I don't know.
You heel turn right here.
No, because it just depends on what we're doing. What are we doing here? Are we picking what we think is going to happen, or are we picking what we would do? That's
what we think will happen.
We probably should have figured this out beforehand.
Yeah.
It's a minor detail.
So you're saying you think Murray will go one. Even
If I
though
have to
you
break a
wouldn't do
tie,
it.
if I have to break a
Yeah.
tie, because I have seen what they've done so far and everything has been irrational.
Yeah.
I just can't wrap my head around it just yet because I have a conspiracy theory with my fourth pick on what's going on here with Kyler Murray. But
I like your. Let's keep it like this though, because I like your.
We'll go
fourth pick.
Bosa
It's
one.
exciting.
We'll go Bosa one. We'll
Okay.
play that. We'll play.
So
this
that's what
out.
we're doing. We're all arriving at a
Yeah.
conclusion.
Are we owning different picks here, or are we arriving at one conclusion?
Gribbs, we're going to publish this later today in written form. And
Yes.
all 4 of our mocks are going to be out there for the world to see.
Right.
So
we don't
let's
need to
just let's
agree.
stay to that. Let's
Yeah,
just
just
stick to
say
that.
with
We don't
what
have
it
to
is.
agree.
that's fine with me
No consensus?
because we're going to have some tough ties to
That's-
break here.
Let's just say this.
That's
though.
fine.
We can, if we want to. If we were the Arizona Cardinals, I think we would take Nick Bosa.
In a
Yes.
heartbeat.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. We can agree on that.
At this rate, this podcast is going to be 7 hours long.
No, it's
All
good.
right,
It's good.
we're underway.
Tasty. We're gonna get quick here.
Yeah.
That was the most.
Yeah, that
No.
was literally. It looks like we're only in consensus on one guy in the 17 picks.
Yeah, but
It's pretty amazing.
That's because
part of
things
that's
gonna-
how
things-
wide
number
open it
one.
is.
Yeah.
get shit.
I think the world's like that.
Yeah.
San Francisco is on the clock with pick number 2. Gribble, you had Josh Allen. Zegura, you had Bosa. Nick, you had Keenan Williams. And I had Nick Bosa. So, Gribbs, Josh Allen put on quite the show at the Combine. And pretty good football player.
Yeah, and I'm of the opinion that if Bosa's still there too, San Francisco, as I think Daniel Jeremiah tweeted out, do the Stanley Hudson fast walk to the podium. That's going to happen if Dick Bosa is available. Josh Allen, I think, makes sense for them. They need pass rush. They've drafted some. Why I don't think it'll be Quinnen Williams is because they've drafted a couple of defensive tackles recently. It hasn't worked out. I just don't think they're going to go down that path again. So that's why I think it's going to be Josh.
And that's a fair reason for why they wouldn't take that position. But looking at them from a depth chart standpoint, I think they're stronger on the ends than they are on the interior, and I think that's why they end up going Quinnen Williams there. But either spot really helps them.
No question.
Bosa, Allen, Williams. I think at this point everybody would agree are the 3 best non-quarterback players in the draft. Right. So they're going to go 3 in a row for all of us. It's just a matter of what order they go.
Not so fast, my friend.
Well, for you,
Yeah,
of course.
well, you know.
you like to get
I like to spice it up.
Yeah, spice it up a little bit.
The Jets at pick number 3. Gribble, you have Williams. Zegura with Williams. Shook with Josh Allen. Yours truly with Josh Allen. So basically what we said. 2 of the top players in the draft, they're going to go certain ways. If one doesn't take one, the other one's going to take another one. Jets, those with a lot of holes to fill as well.
Yeah, and they just lost their leading sack register from last year, which is Henry Anderson. He's going to free agency, and well, they need a defensive end, so I think that's the right pick.
And they're at the top of the list of team that has been rumored to move out of this spot. They want to get a lot more picks, a lot more players. They're a lot of pieces away, and I wonder how much influence do we think Greg Williams will have on this pick at number 3? He's certainly going to be lobbying for a defensive player. He was certainly involved with the pick of Denzel Ward here. Had a role. He's going to have a role in this pick.
They gave up so much to go up last year to get Darnold, right? So
Yeah.
it makes sense that they'd want to try to move down and get value. And in this draft, if you're saying Williams or Allen and you move down a few spots, you're still going to get a very good defensive lineman and hopefully pick something else up. That would probably be the best play for the Jets.
I don't know, honestly, what the market is to move up right now. I mean, it would have to be for one of the 2 quarterbacks and nothing else, but I don't even know. I don't even know what you'd get. A couple of years ago with the whole Carson Wentz trade, there's no way you're getting that haul to move all the way up here. I
No.
don't think in this year's draft.
If Kyler Murray didn't go number 1, okay, he's not going to go number 2, and then somebody would want to jump ahead of Oakland. So that for them to maximize their value, that's what they need to happen.
That's probably the only value in that pick.
Yeah.
Right there.
Good call. On to pick number 4.
I like this one. Just give this to Gribbs.
Yeah,
All Gribbs.
I was going to say,
Go ahead.
we'll turn this over to Gribbs. Gribbs had Kyler Murray, Zegura with Josh Allen, Shook with Montez Sweat, and yours truly with a little Montez
Keith Sweat.
Well, I think
Good
I
pick
do
number
like
4.
the you guys going with Sweat at number 4 because that's like
That's a Raider move.
typical Raiders. They saw
Oh, yeah.
saw the 40 at the
Speed,
combine.
so fast.
They're all in
immediately.
on there.
Yeah.
I'm going with Kyler Murray here because I'm sticking with the spirit of irrationality.
Okay.
Raiders have a good quarterback in Derek Carr, but they're looking for some spice. Some they're moving.
Gotta
They
sell
gotta
tickets.
They gotta get some juice going with that franchise. It doesn't sound like they're going to get Antonio Brown. Maybe that's going to be dated by the time this is published. But I think they need something to jazz up the team. Also, yesterday, Charlie Casserly makes the report about negative reviews on Kyler Murray in his interviews there. The GM of the Oakland Raiders, a former NFL Network colleague, maybe some spin zone there, drop the value of Kyler Murray, get him to number 4.
So the thing about that is, and I think it's such an interesting point, right? Arizona doesn't care what Charlie Casserly says. If they're in a room with him, they had an interview. If they thought he was fine in there,
you want a player, you try anything you can do.
Of course,
try to get him to you.
I know. He did say he spoke with multiple teams, but yes, I think that clearly it could be something. Who knows?
But I mean,
fascinating.
when you're in a position that the Raiders are, they're like one of maybe 5 teams entering this season who don't realistically think they're going to make the playoffs. I think that's a team that could maybe afford a little experiment. They've got 2 extra first-round picks as well. They're trying to juice up this franchise. Derek Carr is not doing as good as he is. I think he's a solid quarterback. Murray adds some spice to that franchise that's not there going into Vegas in 2020.
Supposedly, Gruden's dream was to get Antonio Brown, Le'Veon, and draft Kyler Murray.
Oh my!
Supposedly,
Yes.
that's his dream scenario.
I just don't think maybe they'll get Antonio Brown, maybe not. But I could see this happening if he's available. But we'll see if it's possible.
If this was a franchise that didn't have enough money to pay Khalil Mack, and that was one of the reasons they said how are they trading for Antonio Brown and paying Antonio Brown and then paying Le'Veon Bell? I realize you'd get Derek Carr out of there in his dream scenario, but still, how are you doing all this?
I don't even know if it's a cap management thing, but just a philosophy thing. You're going to value a 30-year-old receiver and a running back who has a good amount of mileage on him, even though he's still young, over an all-pro edge rusher who could be a future Hall of Famer. And a receiver who, by the way, went to the Cowboys and immediately helped them turn their offense around.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you guys could see this happening if he's available at number 4?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I think anything is on tap for the Raiders.
I could see if they take him at number 4, I could see Gruden having Kyler Murray, and I could see Gruden being the one to say, Johnny Manziel, come back to the NFL, and Johnny backs up Kyler Murray. I'm not even kidding.
I also think we don't go this far, but I think one of their 2 picks at the end of the first round will be Jeffrey Simmons. I think they're a team that can take a risk on a player that's not going to play this year and add him for the future. I think they're playing for Vegas.
I also think they'll draft a wide receiver so they can be like, well, we got a younger Amari Cooper with that pick.
All right, we're a fourth of the way through our mock draft. On to pick number 5 in Tampa Bay. And, Nick, you had Devon White going, Zegura, Andre Dillard, Gribbs, Montez Sweat. I had Keenan Williams going at pick number 5 to Tampa Bay. Zegura, we'll start with you. Andre Dillard to Tampa Bay.
Guy crushed it at the combine in terms of his measurables. I think Bruce Arians, you want to run his offense, you got to be able to protect the quarterback. They've got Jameis. They've got some talent there, so they'd go on the offensive line.
Nick, Devon White.
I like that pick first, even though they just re-signed their starting left tackle. He can slide him over to the right side.
Put him on the right side.
Yeah, that would work very well. Devon White, because Quan Alexander is not going to be there, and they're going to need to replace him there, and he's the best linebacker in the middle in this class, and it's a thin class, and I think they want to get that. They got to go get him now.
There is a big drop-off from the first couple.
Absolutely.
No
two.
I mean, is it even day 2, or do you jump to day 3 for the linebacking room?
You'll probably see someone take a shot late day 2.
But that tells you how thin
It's
it
White
really
and
is.
Bush, and they'll probably both go in the first round. They'll both be really good.
Yep.
Gribbs, little Sweat.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good pass rusher, and he's had a great – basically, he was the player of the Senior Bowl, like the main attraction there, did amazing at the Combine. He's a pass rusher. He's going to go high in this draft.
Yep.
At what point do we differentiate from how well you did at the Combine and how well you did at the Senior Bowl to what is your game tape actually showing us?
I think it's game tape 1, maybe Senior Bowl and Combine are neck and neck for 2.
But Sweat also produced. I mean, he had a good 2 years at Mississippi State. The question that's going to come up with him is, why'd you get kicked out of Michigan State, and have you really turned your life around? I mean, that's going to be the things that follow him around.
All right, on to pick number 6. And the fact that all 4 of us came up with 1 out of 17, Dwayne Haskins. Just a no-brainer.
It's too easy, which means it's not going to happen. Like, it just seems so easy.
It's the one thing that's in every mock.
And I'll go out on a limb, and I've been on this for a while now. If this does happen, the Giants don't deserve this for how they attacked last year's draft.
Absolutely not. Because
I mean, they chose to avoid the quarterback position. Now they're going to have a really good one fall into their lap at number 6. I mean, I don't know what the scenario is where this doesn't happen.
What if Denver really likes Haskins and Denver goes from 10 to 3, and that's who the Jets are able to move with?
I mean, that's a I would think that's a possibility.
I think that also
Jacksonville could jump him.
Yeah, I think that depends on where the Murray hype train is at that point. Are we still here? Are we still at? He's going to go 1, and if he doesn't go 1, well, he's there at 3, or does he slide at some point? Well, we've seen it happen before in both ways.
Yeah.
There has never been less hype for a player of this stature in the draft.
It's mind-blowing.
A great quarterback with a big arm that played at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And had monster interviews at the Combine from everything that I've been told.
He's everything you want.
Yeah.
And yet.
People don't like his numbers when he is under pressure in the pocket are bad. They're not good. They're bad. It's true. He can't move off of his spot and deliver the ball accurately. And I remember when Todd Monken came in here on CBD, and he said the number one play that you run more than any other in your whole playbook is the scramble play. And that is an out-of-structure play, and that's where he struggled a little bit. That's the one knock on him. I still think he's really good, and I think that if you're the Giants, that works out pretty well for you.
In a normal year, I would say 4 out of 5 years, this guy is like the number 1 pick. We're talking about him in the talks with number 1 pick. But he's
you
not
would
even
think so.
He's not even in the conversation.
You would think so. It's odd. It's very interesting. So maybe there's something more to what scouts see in him than what the public sees in him. I don't know.
Well, it's a weird mix of the Murray buzz and the fact that the top 5 teams
don't
in the
really
draft don't really have quarterbacks.
And the pressure thing. I think the pressure thing really it stuck out in some of their bigger games this year. Purdue was one. Penn State was another one where if he got pressured, he did kind of lose his accuracy downfield.
Purdue game was one to forget.
Yeah.
We were in Tampa night before the Buccaneers game. So we did our best to forget it. Sunshine, they'll do that. Some cocktails. Pick number 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this is where all 4 of our mocks all go our separate directions. Gribbs, DK Metcalf, Zegura, TJ Hawkinson, the tight end out of Iowa, Nick Shook, Kyler Murray, and Gibbs, Jawan Taylor. Gribbs, we'll start with you. DK Metcalf, actually 3 out of the 4 of us have him going to Buffalo at 9. What made you put him at 7 to Jacksonville?
I just think that I'm not the biggest fan of DK Metcalf, honestly, but I think that he's going to be considered the top receiver in this draft.
Yep.
I think the Jaguars last year didn't really burn a pick, but they have a stacked defense, and they drafted another defensive lineman, and he didn't really do all that much. And I think they need offensive help. They probably, even though they had a bad year last year, they probably think that if they get their quarterback situation solved, that they believe they're a playoff team, and this is a big area of weakness for them. It's been an area of weakness ever since Allen Robinson got hurt.
And Allen Hurns had one great year,
Yeah.
and then wasn't anymore. I gave him Hawkinson. I think when Tom Coughlin would have to in my opinion, a hard-nosed, great run-blocking tight end. They still want to be physical, I would imagine, up front with Leonard Fournette in the backfield. Plus, he's a good pass catcher, and a lot of people think he is one of the safest prospects in this draft to be a decade-long starter. And I thought for Jacksonville, kind of fits that hard-nosed mentality and bringing that toughness back to their offense.
Kyler Murray for me because Jacksonville doesn't have a lot of room to maneuver at the quarterback position. They got a lot still tied up in Blake Bortles, and it's very clear that he is not their quarterback now or ever will be. And he was a large reason, him in the absence of Leonard Fournette, why they weren't good last year and why they struggled offensively. And I think the easiest way you address that is by drafting somebody who you think can play immediately, and no one brings more excitement at that position in this draft than this guy.
If everything is true about that it's a done deal that Foles is going there, would you still take him anyway?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because long term,
Foles is not right.
how long are you
Probably
going to keep
not
Foles there?
I don't know. He's good. I might have kept him in Philly.
I wouldn't quite say that he's a bridge quarterback because I think he's better than that.
Right.
But long term,
right.
I just don't see it there.
Yep.
All right. At pick number 8, the Detroit Lions.
I hope that's Will Ferrell. That's who I'd like it to be. As soon as I saw this on here, I was hoping for Will. I'd take him 8 overall.
Clayton Farrell, the defensive end out of Clemson. Gribble has him. Montez Sweat. Zegura has him. And Nick Shook with Rashawn Gary, as well as yours truly.
I think it just says that we all know they need a pass rusher to replace Ziggy Ansah.
Yeah.
And who's it going to be? We'll see how the draft plays out, but I think we're all pretty much in agreement that that's where they go.
Yeah.
What if Kyler Murray was there at 8?
No chance.
No.
Matt Patricia wouldn't have an interest?
No.
He should have an interest of trying to trade the pick then. That would be the only interest I would have.
Kyler Murray won't be there at 8.
According to this, he's there at 7.
But
He's
not
not 8. That's not 8.
That's not 8.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like none of us really want to talk too much about this pick because it's like, has Matt Patricia sucked the interest out of that team? Like
Yes.
we just don't. They were.
At least
They didn't do much last
He's
year.
got a new look, though. So I feel like he's ready.
Again, for all of those Belichick disciples, be your own man when you go to your team.
I think he is being his own man.
He is. I think it's hard for him.
But
just
I
think
don't
it's
know
not
what
enticing.
that is.
Right. I'm not sure he knows what it is.
Quiet, off-putting at times.
That's putting it nicely, to say the least.
They were just a lot of meh last year.
Yep.
Whole lot of meh.
Yeah. All right, we move on to pick number 9, halfway through our mock draft 1.0 here. I'm Jason Gibbs. He's Andrew Gribble, Nathan Zegura, Nick Shook with you on our first mock draft post-NFL Combine. The Buffalo Bills clearly needing some offensive weapons. Just ask all 4 of us. 3 of us with DK Metcalf. Gribble with TJ Hawkinson, the tight end to Buffalo. Gribbs, the thought process.
Yeah, I think they would have taken Metcalf if he was here in my mock. He is not, so I'm going with the next best offensive weapon, and that's the Iowa tight end. Who it's just, I follow college football a decent amount, and
Who's going there next?
I can't believe that Iowa has 2 first-round tight ends.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like it's amazing because you don't
I have them both in the top 16.
hear about this. Like it's
Yeah.
they're
It's
the new
tight end you.
the new Stanford.
Kittle, Dallas Clark back in the day.
Ooh.
And it wasn't that they had a bad year, but you didn't hear about these guys at all.
Colleges have tough times using tight ends
it's
the way
system.
the NFL does. I mean, it was when I covered Alabama. I think I wrote like 10 stories on how does Alabama get O.J. Howard the ball more. Like they just,
Yeah.
it's tough to like work them into the offense with all the other stuff you're doing there and getting touches to so many guys.
And those are 2 coaches who come from the same tree. You know, Ferentz and Saban both work together here in Cleveland, and they both run semi-similar offenses. And it's just it's a matter of it. They run an offense that you'd recognize in 1994 in the NFL, but not now.
Yeah.
On to pick 10 we go. The Denver Broncos clearly in need of offensive line help based on the 4 of us. Gribbs and Gibbs both with Jonah Williams. Zegura and Shook, Jawan Taylor. Need some help protecting one Joseph Flacco.
Yes, I also think Drew Lock could be in play here because there was a lot of people talking about how infatuated John Elway is with Drew Lock, which would
That's almost too perfect, I think.
his track record's not great.
Yeah, that's true.
I just have to say, after Haskins, after Murray, should any of these quarterbacks be first-round picks? I know that
I don't know.
someone will be because someone will come up, someone will get desperate, someone will think I've got to get a quarterback. Are any of these guys first-round talents?
It wouldn't surprise me. Let me throw this out there. It would not surprise me if Daniel Jones ends up on the Giants somehow because there are a lot of people that have been kind of making that connection. I don't know if that means they trade up from the second round back into the first or if they some people think they might just take him at
Like,
6.
what?
The Cutcliffe connection. Eli Manning's actually mentoring this kid already.
Yeah, we didn't mention that possibility earlier with the Giants when we all have them Haskins falling into that. What if they just don't pick Haskins or a quarterback at number 6? Like Giants fans will
Possible.
just lose their minds.
I will blow my lid. It's over. It just off the top of my head, done. I'm out.
Not your problem.
No.
Let's go Browns.
But with my pick with Denver here, I look at Jonah Williams. I put him in the same boat as an Amari Cooper pick of a few years ago and a who was the guy last year, Mike McGlinchey, where for months you overthink it and try to rate all these guys above them, even though these guys were clearly the best players in college. I think he's the best tackle in the draft. Just because his arms are a little short, I don't worry about that. He'll be fine in Denver as a left tackle.
Yep.
Yeah, not too shabby. Denver, I think, will be
okay, well,
happy with either one of those 2.
We'll say he could be a tackle. He could be a great guard. Who cares? He's going to be a starter.
Remember
for a long
the
time.
debates we had about Amari Cooper versus Kevin White?
Yeah.
People really wanted Kevin White over Amari Cooper.
That's
Yeah.
painful.
Just overthink it sometimes.
Yep. Yes, indeed. All right. First AFC North squad in the mock draft. It is the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock at pick number 11. Gribbs with Rashawn Gary. Zegura and Gibbs going Devon White, the inside
I love the use
linebacker.
of the third person right now.
I'm just going to keep doing it. I was committed to it,
It's so
and then
good.
I just said, I'm going to keep doing it.
Gibbs, this guy knows Zegura.
Sure.
He took Devon White.
Shook with TJ Hawkinson. So 3 defensive players and an offensive player. Nick, I'll start with you.
Okay, good. I just don't want to be right about this at all. I don't want Devon White
Yeah,
in our. If he's not on the Browns, I do not want him in our division. That guy is an absolute animal, and that's why Nick has him going 5th overall.
I'm glad you're using your bias in this situation. That's perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
I go tight end here because I think that their song and dance with Tyler Eifert over these years and all the injuries, unfortunately, that he's suffered, I think it's about over. And I think they're going to look to take the next step at the position. They're going to take the best tight end available in this draft.
Gribbs, Rashawn Gary, what to make of him out of the University of Michigan. Him and Ed Oliver both, with the whole sitting out at certain points of the season and just not having a full body of work. Good combine workouts, but where do you see?
He's a great player, and I wish I could give you better analysis, but I also followed the Zegura line of thinking in this one, where I just don't want to see Devon White in the division. I wanted to get him to 17, but I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I at least took him out of the division, and I just think the Bengals are probably, with the way this draft is shaping up, I could see them just going with defense because they need help in a lot of places, and there's really not many other good offensive players. I think that would be worth it, that spot.
Devon White, he's just a special player. I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
He's just like the AFC, the player you don't want seeing around the AFC. Like the players we've seen too often be on the Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers.
Correct.
Don't want him. Don't want him there.
No.
All right, we move on to the Green Bay Packers at pick number 12.
I like that we skipped the Dolphins. Forget them.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
My bad. I was
That's
jumping
13.
ahead. We should skip them anyway.
Easy.
My bad. Sorry.
They're
tanking anyway.
There's plenty of time here.
They're tanking anyway.
Is this a? Well,
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Green Bay with some needs, and Gribbs with the Devon White pick, just so they're not in the AFC North. Rashawn Gary by Zegura. Noah Fant.
I love that pick.
The other tight end out of Iowa, going to Green Bay. And then I had Marquise Brown.
Hollywood Brown.
Go long, Andrew and Aaron Rodgers. Just throw the ball up there. I feel like that could be something that
I like it. That's fun.
That could totally go a different direction, I think. But taking a look at the Packers, Nick, Noah Fant, pretty special player.
This is kind of weird as I look at the whole group here. All these picks make sense for the Packers, which is funny because a year ago it was a shocker that they kind of fell off in the way they did. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers' injury contributed to that, but it kind of just hit me now that they do have multiple needs. I went with the tight end again, back-to-back Iowa tight ends at 11 and 12 for a similar reason, except for this time, instead of taking the one-year flyer on the hottest free agent tight end, it didn't work with Martellus Bennett. Jimmy Graham's still there, but it's kind of I think they're tired of that, and they finally invest in a young tight end and kind of get back to the way they used to develop their tight ends in Green Bay about a decade ago.
I like it. I think he's a good fit for them. I like that pick a lot. I just gave him a Gary. With teams playing, you don't worry about the front so much. The guy can rush the passer. He's a freak athlete and would help their defensive line.
And I just think Brown is another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, who's on the clock in terms of being, I think we can all agree, starting on the downside of the career. And, I mean, not that he won't put up great numbers, but you got to surround the guy with weapons at some point here. And a young new head coach.
They're staring down one Super Bowl in the Aaron Rodgers era pretty stoutly in the barrel right now.
One is more than none, but it's not as many as he should have.
As you would have thought, right.
Sure. Yeah, no question about it. Pick number 13. Hey, guess who's on the clock?
Here we go, the Dolphins.
The Dolphins on the 2-year tank.
Yeah.
Can we all agree that it's a 2-year tank?
You can't. You gave him a quarterback.
That doesn't mean anything.
Is that the Trevor Lawrence tank?
Yeah,
that doesn't mean anything.
Tank for Tua, and then if not, the 2-year tank for Trevor.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
That's what I
They're
have them
tanking
doing.
for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Even though I have them taking a quarterback, this is like
Ignore this.
yeah, like a
Avert
year
your
from
eyes.
now we're not.
No, that was
gonna-
that Gibbs guy you were
This
talking
could be
about.
the Dolphins, but that could be the Dolphins. Yeah.
That Drew Lock is the Ryan Tannehill of I think this draft, except he doesn't have a receiver or a background as a
Right.
receiver. I mean, that they'd be going nowhere with that pick. But we're good. You got to address a position of need. I understand.
All good. I like to throw out
Yeah,
a little,
I like a
little
little curveball.
little
Yeah.
something different.
It helps the Browns.
Yeah.
Get a quarterback off. Get a defensive player one spot down.
So we don't know who's going to play quarterback necessarily, whether it's Tannehill. We think it'll probably be Tannehill just because of his
Don't we think
cap.
he's going to be gone?
He's gone. He's gonna be
What
gone,
about the
so-
cap number?
He's gonna be gone.
They're just going to eat that cap number.
I don't know. I think they want to.
New coach, new
want
regime?
to tank.
Yeah, you can want a tank, but like, how much money?
Brocktober, baby.
You can tank.
All right.
You can tank.
You weren't here for that.
I know.
So you guys all think offensive line, the place that Miami should really be focused on.
Yeah, it's an area of
Yeah,
need.
might as well
Protect
start
for
building.
October.
It's
Yeah.
one of the 5 important positions.
Yeah, get-
Fill it
yeah.
and get moving forward.
So that when you draft your quarterback, you already have a tackle.
But I will be thrilled if when the Browns face the Dolphins that we are staring down a Drew Lock-led Dolphins
that'd be
offense.
great.
I would be. I would,
Sign me up.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
It's a fantastic Sunday.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
It's certainly not a Sunday night.
No, we can all agree that is a 1 p.m. kick.
Not prime time.
No, not prime time. The Atlanta Falcons on the clock at pick number 14, and a player that we've seen mocked all over the board, anywhere from, early teens all the way into the 20s. Ed Oliver, the guy that literally has a bobblehead right here in front of us
Destiny.
on the table. Gribbs and Nick Shook both going with Ed Oliver. And Gribbs, I'll start with you to state your case for Ed Oliver to Atlanta.
He's a great player, and the Falcons would be fortunate to get him at the 14th pick. They need a lot of help at a lot of different spots, which is crazy to think of a team that we saw in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. But I think they need some help on defense, and there's just no offensive players that make sense there. Oliver, you get him in your program, figure out what to do with him later. He's a good player.
Yeah, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah talked about how a lot of people felt Ed Oliver was a defensive end who was being blocked on the interior because Houston was lining him up in the wrong spot. He's very versatile. I think he can help them both in depth and wherever they want to head with this defense in the future. No matter whether they tagged Grady Jarrett or not, no matter if they have Vic Beasley and them out there, I think he's a great player that could add to a defense that really needed the help last year and was a main reason why they struggled.
Rashawn Gary or Ed Oliver, who could be the biggest headache for their respective team?
I don't think Oliver's going to be a headache.
Yeah, I think the Oliver thing was stretched out of context and everything like that. I think he's hilarious based on what I heard from him at the combine,
Yes.
and I think he's a good player who's known he's a really good player for a long time.
He's an aspiring entrepreneur in a unique way.
Zegura, you have Brian Burns, defensive end. Now, here's a guy that I know in Todd McShay's mock, he has him going 29,
Yeah.
but you have him going 14.
Some people have him going early.
Yeah.
I think that they clearly, when they made the move last year to bring in Bruce Irvin, even though they had Beasley, who had a down year last year, only 5 sacks, and Tack McKinley, it said they wanted another pass rusher. Burns fits that bill. They can kick Beasley inside, which they started to do a little bit in the second half of the season. And Grady Jarrett's going to get paid a lot of money. I don't know if you put that much money into 2 interior defensive linemen. And then the third part of this is that I want Christian Wilkins and Ed Oliver to be on the board 17. So
I went with Christian Wilkins just to throw a wrinkle into everything. So
seems likely. I keep talking myself into the fact, though, that would they, after paying Grady Jarrett that much, also take a second interior defensive lineman with that valuable of an asset?
That's kind of what I struggle with, too. This is actually the hardest pick for me to make in this entire mock. But I feel like the Oliver pick and much like the Burns pick, they kind of fit because Atlanta loves the stun up front. They love the twist. They love to move their defensive linemen. And you have to have athletic guys to do that, and these are guys who can
Aren't
do
you
that.
thinking that by the time that you're got to pay Ed Oliver some significant money, that it might be
If it's just,
curtains for Grady Jarrett?
I look at it as a investment because it's a first round pick. Like, it's a valuable asset. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you're still getting and by the way, I know you said McShay had him. Jeremiah had Burns going 14 to the Falcons.
it's all
So-
over the map. That's
So hey,
Jeremiah also had Ed Oliver in the 20s.
good.
So
Great.
past the Browns.
Wilkins 19, Ed Oliver 21. Exactly. Sign me up.
All right.
Can we
This is
all
what I'm
agree
tasking.
maybe that this Falcons pick could really set the table for where the Browns are going to go at 17? I know that you've got Washington and Carolina, between the two, but Atlanta with similar needs, especially on the defensive front, could kind of dictate where we end up going.
I do think
Yeah.
so. I think it definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's still too tough because I don't. You guys have a couple of you have quarterbacks going to Washington at 15. I just that wouldn't make any sense to me. I get where it makes sense, but I don't. So I could see them also taking a defensive player that we would want at 17.
Yeah, Washington and Carolina are just the unknowns, I think, right now. And really, a lot of this draft is, it's just really hard to kind
Just
of
look
assemble.
at the fact that none
Yeah.
of us are.
I felt like it was a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle.
This is foreign territory for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're used to having a
Pick
pretty
one or
pretty
one,
clear
2,
idea
3,
of
4.
what's going to happen here. But
Sometimes 1 and 4.
But with 15, I can just get started talking about why I don't think they're taking a quarterback. I think they are oddly enamored with Colt McCoy and think he can get them through this upcoming season if Alex Smith can't play, which we don't think he will.
Dude's leg was in
But
traction.
two,
still.
are you really going to make this franchise-changing pick and really put all your eggs in the basket of a quarterback you're taking 15th? I can't get on board with that. In an underwhelming quarterback class, I just think that Washington, for some reason, probably thinks they're a piece or two away, even though they probably aren't, and are probably going to look for a starter right away.
Well, we from the quarterback delegation say that you can sit this quarterback behind Colt McCoy if you so desire.
That's
and
right.
he can be your
A
guy
great
beyond
mentor.
Alex Smith.
Yeah, what a mentor.
I mean,
What a guy.
Think about it, though, because you don't know where Alex Smith is health-wise. I mean, he might be done. We're not really sure yet. It's a long time until we figure out where he is. Colt McCoy is now, but this guy can be your guy of the future. I think a lot of it depends on what they learn about Alex Smith in the next month or two, but face it, he's not getting any younger either.
Done. I could see them going for a quarter. I could also see them trading for Josh Rosen after Kyler Murray goes.
Right,
number
that
one
would make
overall.
more sense to me because at least you can
course.
like,
That's fair,
think
yeah.
he's a better quarterback.
I just gave him put a
these guys.
quarterback in here.
Zegura, by the way, had Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Shook had Daniel Jones. I had Ed Oliver. Gribble had Brian Burns.
I don't think they will go interior defensive line because they took Jonathan Allen 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But they could do anything. They could also
That's
take a
what I mean. It's
receiver.
Daniel
McShay,
Snyder.
yeah, McShay just had him taking Hollywood Brown, I think.
I think they're still in the Antonio Brown sweepstakes too.
There you go.
Weird moment for that franchise.
It's just. I mean, that injury was brutal,
Yeah.
and
Devastating.
and they weren't really lighting the world on fire offensively
No.
to begin with.
But, I mean, you lose, if you think about for that season, Darius Geis was supposed to be a centerpiece of their offense.
Yep.
He goes out before the season starts, and I know they have big plans for him this year, but he's out. Then all of a sudden, Alex Smith's down. Jordan Reed's always hurt. Dotson was hurt. Crowder was hurt. Chris Thompson
I
was
mean,
hurt.
Dotson's been a disappointment. He's
They've
not
all-
a true one.
They've all gotten hurt.
In a year where the NFC East was ended
ripe.
up being up for grabs.
It was ripe.
I think they would have won the division if Smith was healthy.
Even with all those other injuries.
I think that's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. All right, pick number 16, the pick before the Cleveland Browns, otherwise known as the Carolina Panthers pick. Gribbs, you had Jawan Taylor. Zegura, Noah Fant. Shook, Andre Dillard. Yours truly with T.J. Hawkinson. 2 tight ends, 2 offensive linemen. Carolina needing weapons and maybe to keep Cam Newton from lying on his back.
I just think giving them a guy, you've got, Greg Olsen, if he does come back, if he doesn't end up broadcasting, is near the end of his rope. It was obvious how important the tight end is to Cam Newton in that offense once he went out. So I got him a tight end that can run the field. He's fast, and I think would fit nicely. It also gives them the flexibility with Olsen to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, which is probably their best set right now because McCaffrey's kind of an extra receiver on the field, even though he's a running back. They got the receiver DJ Moore, who I like a lot. I think that kid's going to be very good. They probably need one more receiver to complement him. And then that's a pretty good offense with a good diversity and a lot of different ways they can hurt you. So I thought Fant made a lot of sense. Get Cam Newton what he utilizes well, and clearly the tight end, when he has a good one, he's very good. And when he doesn't, it hurt him last year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it addresses. I like that pick, even though I didn't go that direction. I like.
But
that
he was off
pick.
the board for you
Yeah,
already.
I know,
You've already
right,
Green
right.
Bay snatched
I'm
him.
not going to take the 3rd tight end in this class. We're going to go
I
somewhere
don't even
else.
know who that is. Let's go.
So we go with the tackle.
So we went all offense. Basically, makes us feel good that you're getting the player you want, no matter what the Panthers do. Probably.
Uh-huh. Yes, I like that.
On to the Cleveland Browns. Finally, at pick 17, 10:30 on draft night, maybe?
Probably.
I think didn't we hear 9:50?
I thought that was awful early.
I guess that's when the 17th pick was made last year.
Okay.
I think it's early.
I like it.
How many teams are burning clock all the way down?
It seems about
I
right.
think
What
you're
time
gonna
does
have
it
a
start?
couple.
We milked a lot of clock on number 1.
We might. Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
let people think about it a little longer.
All right, we'll go around the horn here. Gribbs, you have Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle, Clemson. Your thinking and your rationale
I
behind
think
the pick.
at that point in the draft, he is simultaneously the best player available and also the player who fills one of your biggest needs. I think interior pass rush is so much more important than it even used to be. Aaron Donald has been kind of a game changer in spurring that movement, but teams are getting the ball out quicker. You need to get to the quarterback the fastest path possible through the middle. You put him next to Larry Ogunjobi, suddenly you've got something really promising where both defensive tackles have the ability to rush the passer.
Nick Shook, you also with Christian Wilkins here at pick number 17.
I think Gribble had a great summary there on this, and just from being at the combine and standing at his podium and listening to the guy talk and his teammates talk, they love him. His tape backs up, everything we think about him, and I thought he had a great personality, and he just seemed like a guy who's going to step in and be prepared to handle the job like a professional and like a guy who's wise beyond his years from day one. I think that's exactly who they could use at that position, and at number 17, I think they'd be getting a great pick.
For both of you guys, Oliver is off the board. If Oliver and Wilkins were both on the board, what would you do?
I'd probably take Oliver.
Yeah, I'd agree.
All right, so that was the situation I was confronted with. I mean, the bobblehead's been here. I feel like it's a sign So let's go at Oliver. Come on down.
Did you will?
I'd be
did
fine
all
with
three
it,
of you
Oliver.
will your guy respectively to pick number 17?
I'd be fine with Wilkins. I'm fine with any of this. This all makes me happy. Byron Murphy. Look, the good news is we have a guy pulling the trigger that I think we all have a lot of belief on. As Gribb says, he's on a heater with his first pick in the draft, and he never walk away from a heater. So let's go.
Yeah, I did go with Byron Murphy. Gribb said, please don't tell me that you're not taking Wilkins or Oliver.
They're gone.
I said, no problem. I will come up with someone else for you. I just think defensive back is in play,
Corner.
especially for, we saw great things from Denzel Ward, but you need a guy on the other side. And God forbid Denzel Ward gets a concussion again or misses any time. You really don't miss a lot because you still have a shutdown corner on at least one side. Ball hawker, smart, intelligent kid. I just think makes plays, and it could make a lot of sense for Dorsey.
The cornerback position is one of the least plug-and-play friendly positions on the field when injuries hurt. Like you lose a guy, and all of a sudden you are in trouble. Like
Yep.
you get exposed in a big way. So I like that pick that you make there. I'll bring up this point though. If there's been a lot of debate on which Clemson defensive tackle should the Browns take at 17 between Wilkins and Dexter Lawrence. Do you guys see any argument for the other guy, for Dexter Lawrence at this spot in the draft?
I'm a big fan of Wilkins. I think, again, like I say, I trust the man over there. It seems, again, it seems that Wilkins has separated himself.
Well, they're two different players.
Right.
I mean, Lawrence is your run
Lawrence is
stopper.
a run stopper, and I think for me, when I hear John Dorsey, what he says is, I want to have 4 pass rushers on the defensive line, so I want that style. And to me, that's Wilkins. That's an Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. But going back to the Murphy point, I think he's my top corner in this draft. I know some people have had Greedy Williams. Some other people have had DeAndre Baker. Who is it going to be in that group? Living on the West Coast before I came here, I got to see a lot of Pac-12 football, which is kind of an experience. And I got to see a lot of Washington.
Great.
Yeah, it's not anymore.
No.
But I got to see a lot of Washington football, and Murphy is a stud. Now, they say he's a little small. He plays kind of like Denzel Ward does. He plays above his weight. He's put on some weight since he went to the combine. He ran a little bit slower for you than people expected, but he is so natural, so fluid, and has a lot of the same traits that made Denzel Ward an attractive prospect. I'm not saying they're the same player. They're two different guys, but I think he's probably got the fastest track to success in the NFL among those corners in this draft.
I feel like Washington is the new
Corner unit?
North Carolina in terms of NFL players that are highly drafted that is disproportionate to the success your program is having. Obviously, they went to the playoff a couple years ago, but it's just they should be doing more with these guys. They've got so
right?
many NFL guys that
Yes.
keep coming out of there every
You
year.
would think.
I also think that they suffer from a lack of conference strength because
Yeah.
they're still a pretty decent. I mean, they're in the
They're really
Rose Bowl.
good. It's just that
Right.
you don't hear much about.
No.
Like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
they just keep. I think they've got 3 or 4 guys in Jeremiah's top overall 50.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a talented team, and these are good players.
You need 22 guys out there.
I know. Yeah, 53.
Playing their hearts out. That's right.
Only 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, no running backs going, anywhere between 2 and 3 quarterbacks going.
Hopefully 4 go. I mean, it's always possible.
Hopefully.
People lose their minds when it comes to the draft and look at that position.
A lot to get to and a lot to still uncover as we work our way toward the 2019 NFL Draft. Gentlemen, mock draft 1.0 in the books.
Glorious.
When should we do a second one, Gribbs?
Maybe,
what's the
maybe
timetable?
like 3 weeks before the draft, and
Okay.
then we'll regroup right before the draft.
Yeah.
All right.
I think
After free
let
agency, because free agency is
settle.
going to change needs.
Yeah.
All right. That works for me. Gentlemen, a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Indeed, it was.
Thank you.
The snow has stopped flying for now, so get outside and run to your cars quickly.
Let's say brush them off.
Start them in advance. Warm them up. Maybe one day the sun will come out and it'll be above 50 degrees. So we can only hope. For Nick Shook, for Nathan Zegura, for Andrew Gribble, I'm Jason Gibbs. This is the best podcast available.